The baby was safe in the arms of midwives in the hospital's maternity unit this morning. She'd spent the night being warmed in a humidity crib and under the care of a paediatrician after being found abandoned in the car park just after 11. The hospital's nursing staff gave her the name Naomi.
A little cold when she was found, yes.
And how's she doing this morning?
She's doing fine. She's well this morning.
Naomi's introduction to the world was a small cardboard box. She was wrapped in an old tea towel and sheet and her umbilical cord clamped with a peg. The box was left on top of a car in the cold night air.
I can vouch for it. It was fairly cool. There was a fair bit of dew about, and we have received information this morning that the child was there from at least 7:30 p.m.
Police believe whoever left the baby took a calculated risk on her being found before any harm came her way. The box was found on the roof of a midwife's car as she was leaving work at the change of shifts.
She actually believed that there were kittens. She thought that someone had dumped a load of kittens on the back of a car. It does sort of say that, well, perhaps she has had some contact with the midwife in the past, whether it be through the birth of other children or whatever.
The Department of Community Services has taken charge of Naomi. If unclaimed, she'll remain a ward of the state. Police and medical staff are also concerned for the well-being of the child's mother.
We'd certainly like to be in contact with the mother because she may need, as well as physical treatment, she may well need some emotional help and support. This can't be at all an easy time for her, and we'd be very keen to make contact and trying to help her.
The Morpeth Bridge was built in the horse and cart days, 1897 in fact. For almost 100 years, the rattle of traffic over its boards, playing planks like piano keys, has underscored the rhythms of life in the river town. Would you miss it if the old creaking planks weren't there?
Oh, I certainly would miss it. I'm sure I'd get a much better rest of a night if we didn't have the old creaky bridge.
Engineers have conducted feasibility studies into replacing the bridge in concrete, but locals won't have a bar of it and guard what's described as one of the few remaining single-span truss suspension bridges left in Australia jealously.
Well, they agitated a long time to get that bridge in the 1890s. I tell you, they were a long time trying for it, and they needed it then. They'll need it now forever, I'm sure.
Guest lectures on the town, its people, pubs and the bridge are being conducted in the old courthouse during Heritage Week.
Christian Sharp appeared in Newcastle District Court today, having pleaded guilty to armed hold-up with an accomplice at a veterinary supplier near Windsor in November 1991. All but one of the employees had left for the day. The court has been told that Sharp used a .357 Magnum revolver to steal more than 1,500 vials of anabolic steroids. Before leaving the scene, he'd removed the lone employee's wallet, read his name and address aloud, and threatened the victim if he reported the robbery. Sharp himself used steroids, which he said made him more aggressive. He often bashed his girlfriend, Renee Hawes. Since his arrest, Sharp has been doing community work with Father Arthur Bridge and stopped taking steroids. Father Bridge said, in this case, he's made an exceptional effort to change as a human being. Sharp will be sentenced next week. Jane Anderson, NBN News.
A hitch in the council's plans to provide a waste transfer depot once Redhead Tip closes may produce a benefit for Lake residents. The alternative proposed by council meeting in committee last night is to hire a contractor who would pick up those bulky items normally taken to the dump, such things as old washing machines and all those things unearthed in the clean out of the garage. There would, of course, be exceptions to what's collected.
Things like engine blocks, large tree trunks and the like will be obvious exclusions, probably building materials as well.
Although it's only East Lakes residents inconvenienced by the closure of Redhead Tip, the service would operate across the whole of the city. Residents able to call the clean-up service 4 times a year from July the 1st, when Redhead Tip would close.
Well, the resident won't pay any direct cost. The council will be providing funds in its next year's budget to take account of this service.
Meanwhile, the council would begin negotiations to buy the whole of the site of the planned waste transfer station in Oakdale Road, where rubbish would be held pending transfer to the Awabba Tip. However, there is now the possibility that if residents decide they're satisfied with the household pickup system, the waste transfer scheme could be scrapped altogether. Council will vote on the issue next week. Jim Sullivan, NBN News.
The trainees inspected the engine for the first time today. The 84 tonnes of steel will be the centre of their attention for the next 6 months. But it's sure to be a labour of love for these previously long-term unemployed who have been given another chance by the federal government to get into the workforce.
They come from all varied sort of backgrounds. Some have been plasterers, some have done trades assistance work, and just a smorgasbord of unemployed people.
They'll spend the next 10 weeks getting basic training before starting the challenging task of transforming the run-down engine into a working locomotive. It's one of only 14 of its type ever made, with 2 already restored by the Hunter Valley Training Company. It used to cart coal across from the South Maitland coalfields, but when finished it'll be just as important to another of the city's industries, tourism.
We'll have a working locomotive which is going to enhance our commitment to heritage in the area and the usual Maitland steam heritage, which is very important.
Richard O'Leary, NBN News.
Since commissioning its latest Bell 412 helicopter last September, the rescue service has logged 450 flying hours on the machine. The large helicopter has already extended the reach of rescuers who now respond to calls for help from the Hawkesbury to Coffs Harbour and inland to Tamworth.
450 hours, flight hours in a 6-month period is a hell of a lot, and of course the problem that you've got with aircraft is that the more you fly it, the more maintenance you've got to do on it, and of course that runs into a lot of money. So what we're looking at is to supply our big helicopter with a smaller helicopter to preserve the life of that one.
About $1 million would be needed to buy and equip a helicopter similar to this Bell Long Ranger model. The service would have to depend heavily on its charity and corporate fundraising base for the purchase.
The service hasn't been backward in putting its hand up if any earthquake funds are on the loose either.
Well, definitely. There's been strong support for the base from a lot of the politicians, because I think that they identify with the work that we do, that we care for everybody.
The service did receive a small boost to its fleet today in the shape of a replica built by an aero modeller from Thornton. Brian Kirkwood donated it to the service for use during promotional tours.
I'm glad to do it. I do a fantastic job for the area, and I just hope this can help them in the promotions and fundraising.
In netball, height isn't everything, but it's a distinct advantage. The New South Wales Netball Association has tuned into this and is looking for all the tall timber it can find.
We'll be asking the districts to identify players in a certain centimetre range from 14 years of age up, and then they will send those players to the first camp in phase 1.
It's a 3-phase project to get the taller girls interested in the sport. And Australian first, results from the Hunter trial will determine if the program is to go nationwide. The idea has received sponsorship from Medibank Private. The Netball Association hopes their developing squads of young players can soar to new heights.
In track and field events, Christy Skelton is an all-round winner. A former gymnast, the 14-year-old became a paraplegic after a car accident 3 years ago. But along with her arm muscles, Christy's winning record has strengthened with an impressive medal tally at the recent National Wheelchair Games. 3 gold, 1 silver and 4 bronze.
Shot put, discus and javelin, I got the gold, and the rest were in the track events.
What makes the Waratah Technology High School students' win so remarkable is that she not only competed against international contenders, but won her major events in the open divisions.
Very good. I didn't even think I'd come back with a medal, but I'm really glad with my performance and that.
Fitting her 6-day-a-week training schedule around school, Christy doesn't plan to sit back and take it easy. There's the combined high school competition, road races and national titles to prepare for, as well as her ultimate dream.
Paralympics, for sure, yeah. Trying to, yeah.
On May the 18th, the dreams of many Hunter Valley soccer fans will come true. They will see a local representative side take on a team that is known across the world. It will be one of only 4 games that Sheffield United will play on its Australian tour, including an appearance on the far north coast of New South Wales.
Sheffield United are coming to Australia on a short tour of 4 games. They're going to Perth, Adelaide. They'll be playing here and they'll also be playing in the Tweed. And we seized the opportunity to get them into the town to promote the game within northern New South Wales.
The visit by the English side will not only be a boost for the supporters of the round ball game, but a chance of a lifetime for those lucky enough to play against them.
Our fellas are looking forward to it. It's not very often you get to play a team of the quality of teams from the English Premier League. It's been many years since there has been a team here from the English League. We had FK Varda here last year from Macedonia, a very strong team. But certainly the English teams are much better known.
They march to remember those buried on distant battlefields. Although old bones are becoming more stiff and sore, a dwindling number of World War I veterans joined younger generations who also served Australia. The oldest Central Coast veteran, 100-year-old Roy Hankin, still has a bullet in his back, a legacy from the First War.
There's thousands of good Australians. There's one place there was 500 lost. 500 Australians lost in one place.
Also at the ceremony, a small contingent of New Zealand soldiers. 80-year-old George Smith, who now lives at Gosford, was taken prisoner with some Aussies during World War II.
They were just like brothers. They, if one got into a stink, the other one would be with them and help us out.
After the service, it was time for another tradition. Off to the RSL for a quiet beer with a few old mates. Jane Anderson, NBN News. Stephen was back at the books today after receiving the highest honour as an apprentice carpenter. Completing 4 years at Gosford Tech, he finished top of the class and top apprentice in the region.
I was shocked. I was proud, I was shocked. I was just couldn't believe it, really.
Stephen was unable to get an apprenticeship on the Central Coast, so accepted one in Sydney. Despite the hours of travelling and studying, Stephen says it's all been worthwhile.
I'd like to become a builder, a licensed builder, and just run my own business and go out on my own.
It's as Australian as Vegemite or Qantas, a game of two-up on Anzac Day. It's called the fairest gambling game in the world. The fate of the bet decided on the throw of 2 pennies. Sheep stations have been won and lost on heads or tails, although the stakes at the Merewether RSL weren't as high. They come from all walks of life, all types, all ages, and all talking the same language, money. Some were on the lookout for a win. Others had their eyes on the coins, and others had seen it all before. 74-year-old Ross Hemmond is a veteran of half a century of two-up, but please don't tell his wife. After we sorted out Ross's marital problems, he let us in on the appeal of the game.
Oh, it's a different game, it's a fair game, it's something that you can win quite a bit if you're lucky enough.
.34-year-old Stephen Hilditch and 33-year-old Stephen Sanderman appeared in Wallsend Court this morning, charged with maliciously inflicting grievous bodily harm. They were arrested by Toronto police, investigating an assault on 30-year-old Ross McIntosh. According to a police statement tendered in court, the attack took place yesterday morning at this Lake Road address. The defendants were seen by 2 witnesses to administer numerous kicks to the head and body of the victim. Hilditch was also observed to hit the victim with a large length of water pipe. The statement went on to say that when ambulance officers arrived at the house, Mr McIntosh was unconscious. He was taken to John Hunter Hospital, where he was found to have a large fracture to his skull and a possible compressed fracture to his face. He remains in a serious but stable condition. Police prosecutor Sergeant Katrina Moy requested that bail be refused because of the seriousness of the offence. However, Magistrate Jeff Brown set conditional bail for Hilditch of $10,000 and $5,000 for Sanderman. The matter has been adjourned for 2 weeks. Jodie McKay, NBN News. Melissa Hunt left her Whitebridge house on Saturday 17th. 9 days later, her body was found.
The Minister was in Maitland to discuss the effects of the Local Government Act with Upper Hunter General Managers. It was the Act's stricter code of conduct that attracted most attention, in particular the investigation by ICAC into Port Stephens Council over the Fern Bay development. Council has been criticised over its handling of the proposal to open the delicate Fern Bay area along the Stockton Bight to 5,000 home sites and 20,000 people.
The Special Investigations Unit of my department has carried out certain investigations of some of the activities. They've delivered a report to me with recommendations that the ICAC handle that, and I have taken that action.
Maitland Mayor Bob G has escaped the attention of the Minister, despite Council ordering an investigation into his involvement in the proposed Thornton industrial estate.
Not me personally, I'm not au fait with that. My department may be, but I'm not.
On another issue, Mr West, in his role as Minister for Energy, has denied reports the state's electricity supplies are to be sold off. He'll introduce a bill next week that will transfer electricity transmission assets to a subsidiary company, but denies this is the first step towards the privatisation of the state's electricity.
Well, it may be beyond my days by any government of any particular persuasion, but it certainly is not in my blueprint.
Richard O'Leary, NBN News.
Redevelopment with a price tag of $750,000 was on show at Wyong. The new facilities include a medical records department and a new hospital wing. Together with the state government funded improvements was a $320,000 hydrotherapy pool, paid for by the local community.
The Central Coast has always had a good reputation for not just putting their hand out, but putting their hand in their own pocket to help, and that encourages us as a government, and I think they should be congratulated for their efforts.
While the opening heralded a new start for the hospital, it also signalled the retirement of Jack Verhagen after 20 years as Executive Director.
I've seen it grow from a chook farm to what it is now. So it's been a real tremendous growth period, and it's been really good.
Further down the coast, the Minister also opened Gosford Hospital's new $240,000 helipad. It means helicopters will no longer have to land at Gosford Golf Course, which previously added a dangerous 15-minute ambulance trip for critically injured patients. The huge injection of funding into the Central Coast hospitals has pleased local authorities. They say the money is much needed for a population that is taking off.
The Central Coast were a major growth area when we came to government, and we very quickly identified the lack of services they had. And that's why we've spent $70 million building new hospitals at Gosford and at Wyong.
Jason Neuenhoff, NBN News.
This is Belmont High's vocal ensemble's version of the popular South African song Freedom is Coming. The group has been selected to perform the item at a special high school choral concert at the Opera House. The song has become known as an anthem of protest and praise for South Africans. This week, blacks and whites voted for change in their country, the popular result showing that the first real signs of freedom had finally arrived.
A weak overnight weather change transformed Flat City to clean half to 1 metre waves. As surf vehicles go, longboards are among the most effective in such conditions, and it's up to the surfers to add the extra style needed to impress the judges. The state eliminations are at Soldiers Beach near Nora Head on the Central Coast. Competition is in 6 categories, including the more radical 8-foot boards and the traditional style 9-foot planks.
The surfers are required to surf the fastest and most critical way they possibly can, but there is that space in the rules for people to use the more traditional manoeuvres, the drop knee turns, the nose rides, hang tens.
Newcastle's Roger Clements and Josh Ferris are through to tomorrow's rounds, and Mark Hancock is looking formidable. North Coast surfers Ian and Malcolm Bell are in good form, along with Hayden Swan and Kim Wilson. The national titles will be held at Phillip Island in November.
It's a complicated science and some would say art to produce the perfect grape, but according to viticulturist Dr. Richard Smart, Aussie wine growers can do a much better job. The way to improve, he says, is through canopy management. That is, training the vines, shoots and leaves to sit better, opening the fruit to the sunlight, which improves the grape's quality and cuts back on disease. Speaking at a seminar in the Hunter Valley, Dr. Smart told growers they're up to 20 years behind the rest of the world, and producers should not ignore the benefits of canopy management.
There's almost an opposition to it here, and yet when I go to Chile or Argentina or California and talk to people there, they're happy to try it and do it. And so I see what's happening is Australia's going to fall further and further behind.
Dr. Smart says research money is being wasted on useless studies. Canopy management work, he says, would create an obvious boost for the industry.
This is the latest police photo of Luke Wickens. He and 21-year-old Wayne Wilmont escaped from the medium security section of Goulburn Jail on Sunday. Wilmont was recaptured the next day, but Wickens remains at large. New South Wales and ACT police have covered a large area searching for Wickens. There were numerous reported sightings today, including some in the Newcastle area, but nothing definite. Police who dealt with Wickens when he lived in Mayfield believe he may be heading this way.
We believe there's a possibility that he may come back to Newcastle. He has family in this area and has other ties as well, and there is a concern on our part that he may come back to this area.
Wickens is described by police as 185 centimetres tall, weighing 85 kilograms with a fair complexion. When he left jail, he had fair hair, a goatee beard with a moustache. He was wearing a large sheepskin jacket over prison greens. Police say Wickens should not be approached. He was well known in the area and was responsible for numerous car stealings and house break and enters. However, his 18-year jail sentence in 1987 was for the kidnapping and sexual assault of a 2-year-old Charlestown girl.
We invited Jeff Latham from the Chamber of Manufacturers and Seth Shevels from the Samaritans Foundation to watch the Prime Minister's address. Jeff Latham says the White Paper will help industry become more competitive and encourage growth. Seth Shevels is pleased that some of the recommendations the Samaritans Foundation suggested to the government have been included in the White Paper.
With regard to treating couples as individuals, for example, when they're seeking work, and some of the other initiatives for supporting people in long-term unemployment.
However, he says he's disappointed the government hasn't addressed the need for more jobs. He's concerned the White Paper relies on economic growth to help the unemployed.
If we don't achieve economic growth at levels of 5 or 6% for the rest of the decade, many of the unemployed people undertaking the training programs will still not find work, and that's a major worry for us.
A small but committed group of animal liberation members staged a protest in the grounds of Newcastle University.
What we're protesting about in Laboratory Animals Week is the use of animals in laboratory research in a number of different settings. And these include their use in cosmetic research and design, their use in military research, their inappropriate use in the teaching of students.
The Department of Biological Sciences at Newcastle University admits to using animals in experiments. However, it says each project must be approved by the university's Animal Ethics Committee.
We feel that by doing this, that it's going to benefit
animal conservation and understanding of animals in the long term.
Animal Liberation member Dr Jonathan Smithson also questions the value of using animals for medical research.
Some very prominent medical people in recent years have seriously questioned whether you can extrapolate from an animal to a human.
Newcastle University hopes this experiment on mice will produce valuable data for humans. The mice are being used to investigate fetal abnormalities caused by alcohol taken during pregnancy.
We do use animals in our teaching and in our research, but we only use them where we feel that there are no suitable alternatives.
Jane Anderson, NBN News.